Hey nerds, today we're going to be talking about how to make super awesome industrialization mechs. Now, if you're thinking about like Gundams or Evangelions, those kinds of stuff, get that out of here. That's too humanoid and too lifelike to be robotic. So we're not thinking about that. We're thinking of stuff like similar to Armored Core or other mechs that aren't futuristic, like Pacific Rim Mark III Jaegers or Mark I Jaegers. Now, before we start, make sure that you've got some sort of mech you want to build and some sort of concepts, because I'm going to be getting into some of that. So, essentially, you're going to have to take a look at industrialization, looking at the period of time when humanity went from an agricultural society to a mechanical one, if you catch my ball sacks. Now, when you're doing so, you gotta look at stuff like engines, steam, refineries, factories, and stuff like that. All of that are like elements of industrializations. And you have to implement that onto your mech, which basically means that you gotta look at some sort of like real life weapon, but especially the ones from World War I, such as the Mark I Willys and the Dreadnought, the HMS Dreadnought, stuff like that. Now, you need to search up Iron Harvest, a mech genre where you are having World War I weapons, but with mechs. Pretty awful too. And search up Armored Core as well. But specifically Gen 5s, because they're usually ground-based, if I remember correctly. Ground-based vehicles, you can look at some non-futuristic concepts. So no flying, but jumping is allowed. To make your mech look more industrialized, you need to add pipes, smokes, engines, pistons, all type of stuff you'd see on an industrialized vehicle. And look at diesel punk designs. They've got it correctly made. So you gotta have a lot of fuel tanks, all that kind of stuff. And look at military vehicles. Those will give you a really good head start on it. With military vehicles, you'll look super awesome, cool, instead of Gundams. Stuff like that. Now Zaku's, they are an exception considering they are very militaristic and stuff like that. But that mainly goes for most Gundams. Or mobile suits, you could say that, yeah. Now, when you're looking at these concepts of mechs, you're gonna go like, whoa, they're so cool, but like, what if I already added all the armor on my mech? Well, too bad. You need to, like, get rid of some of the armor and have some exposing armor. Some exposing frame inside so you can add all the pipes and engines. Not just that, you need to add some like pipes on the back and like release steam or smoke or smog, all that kind of stuff. Just things you'd see on industrialized vehicles like in World War I. First of all, you mainly need to look at World War I. It looks so gritty, evil, and depressing, and implement all that onto your mech, which gives the evil, gritty, depressing look, but it makes it look badass. So that way you can threaten your enemies and scare them like a super evil, scary mech. Basically the equivalent of seeing a tank for the first time in combat history in World War I in front of you. Oh no, so scary. Kill you. Boom, you die. Next second. Second of all, no lasers and no futuristic weapons. That's not allowed at all in industrialization mech building. Having all that makes it futuristic. Instead of like plasma weapons or laser weapons or beam sabers, all that kind of stuff, replace them with ballistic weaponry or melee weapons. So like, instead of having plasma guns, replace them with guns from real life but bigger. You can see with Armored Core a lot. You also see that in Gundam, but They also have a lot of beam rifles and all that kind of stuff. So scratch all the beam rifles, use ballistic weaponry, missiles, guns, artillery cannons, rockets, whatever. Even mass blades from Armored Core, which I actually have on the spec VTuber model right behind me. Just can't see it. Huh. Now, for movement, it's gotta be like all big and slow walking. You can't have it be moving fast like Gundams in the space. All those jets and rockets. Now, you can have thrusters to move you around. However, they can't make you fly. If you fly, you're a bitch. But that only goes for mechs that aren't trying to go like for industrialization. If you want an industrialized gritty looking mech, you can't really fly, but you are allowed to jump and glide around with the rockets. Now, the movement can't be too flexible. It's gotta be slow walking, moving. You gotta look at Western mechs, all those kinds of stuff. Those are the types of mechs you're looking for. The Western mechs nailed that. Unlike Eastern mechs like in Japan, where they have Evangelion and Gundams, and all that kind of stuff. Like humanoid bodies, one of a kind. No one of a kind mechs. You gotta get mass-produced, industrialized mechs that are used specifically for combat. And no heroic saving, just combat. Essentially, you can see these pistons, a lot of industrial stuff like pipes, and these truss tools, or whatever they're called. You can see a lot of the thick armor and stuff all over the place. Plate armor and all that kind of stuff. And very like more pistons and very industrialized. Or you could say militaristic looks, you could say. I think industrialization too much. You can see it on the waist, thighs, and knees and stuff like that, all over. You gotta focus on these kinds of armors, like aero armor. You can see on the chest here, used on tanks to defend against projectiles. You can see them on the arms too. Behind the arms, you can see even more armor, which is like, I don't know, very militaristic, you know, stuff like that. I can see these plated armors on the legs, arms, and this ballistic knife. Used to just like stab people and stuff like that. Nonetheless, it's got a lot of these details, or you know, non-humanoid looking parts. You see a lot of these like industrial like parts you see like on like buildings in the 20s, and like a bunch of missiles used on the Katyushka rocket truck in World War II by the Soviets. Behind here, you can see these thrusters powered by these pipes, like in rockets, like on the Saturn V or that one Soviet rocket, forgot the name. You know, it's got a lot of industrial parts. You can see here, not too futuristic, but like enough to make it believable. You can see this fuel, pipes, wires, all that kind of stuff you'd see. Up here you can see some pipes, wires, all the stuff you'd see on like some sort of skyscraper being built, or some sort of like giant concrete structure and stuff like that. You can see these mechanical parts over here and all that stuff, you know. Not powered on magic, but mainly mechanical. Especially, you can see thrusters there and stuff, all that. This is like very, Alright, so essentially you can see here with this other mech, really similar to the last one, you can see these rigid armors and stuff. You can see, you usually see these kinds of armors, or you know, you could just say aero armor on like mechs, or not mechs, you could say tanks, ground vehicles and all that. Got a lot of the mechanical details you would see on like industrialized mechs. Not futuristic, more so militaristic, used as a weapon of war instead of a one-of-a-kind thing meant to, you know, act so heroic, if you know what I mean. Essentially, it's not very, futuristic, you know. Don't keep it that, don't make it look futuristic. Make it look, rugged and stuff. And reliable, or, you know, just a good old weapon to use in combat. You can see, like, these things to defend against heat shells. More aero armor, and all over the mech, the chest, arms, and all that. You can see here, don't have futuristic weapons, have it like miniguns, guns, or an axe over here. You can see these fuel tanks here meant to move the mech forward and slash its enemies. It's like super fast. Not as fast enough where it would like, fly, but fast enough to like glide around like you can see in Armored Core. You can see radiators, all that kind of stuff. Now, you also need a reliable power source to power all the stuff. So you can see this massive engine meant to power the grind blade right next door. 6-bladed grind blade, to kill the enemies. Essentially another over mech and stuff. It also used to power the mech, but I honestly kind of just made that up, so who cares. We got more thrusters on the legs and arms, shoulders, and these 2 thrusters in front to move the mech back. That's a very kawaii. Ooh, so kawaii. Oh yeah, so kawaii. Anyways, back to the point. These thrusters, or the entire mech itself, is pretty spooky, So essentially what I'm trying to say here is don't look for designs that are futuristic or that wouldn't be probably possible. Look for designs that are more so realistic. Look for armor, raw armor, era armor, the stuff you'd see on tanks, modern day tanks like the M1 Abrams T-80s, modernized T-55s, T-64s, Leopards, all that kind of stuff. Basically, you gotta look for real life examples instead of fictional examples. Or just look at Armored Core. They've managed to figure everything out. Or same with a few other stuff. But yeah, pretty much it.